Hey everyone, I am Robin Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of the Survive and Thrive Advocacy Center, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so great for you to be with us today. We're so glad to be with you today, and congratulations on getting to Friday, everybody. We've done it another week, so I'm feeling it. I don't know if you are, but I'm so happy to be headed to the weekend. Let's also know, just you can tell I'm not goofy, but I'm just really relaxed today. I want you to know this is a conversation we want to have with you as we go through this little slide presentation and then our major program. Know that we are here to talk with you about this issue. And one of the advantages of doing it like we're doing is we can have that conversation. So definitely we want you to participate in the chat and the Q&A. And we'll take it from there. So this program, like all of our Third Friday programs, is a feature of the Big Bend Coalition Against Human Trafficking and our work on this coalition. Our next meeting is coming up. We meet quarterly, is going to be on August the 3rd. If you would like to join us and you are in the Big Bend area, please, we want to do that. And Kelly Doherty is our contact at the U.S. Attorney's Office, who heads up all of our organizational stuff. So Kelly will be your contact. So, excuse me, I hope you can join us. Next slide, please. Next slide there, Cassandra. It is not quite moving yet. Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm with the Survive and Thrive Advocacy Center, and we are a local anti-trafficking program here in the Big Bend of Florida. We assist survivors of sex and labor trafficking. We do that with us. Oh, I still have to change that to care management, Graciela. We do care management of those we support. And we also assist those who are at risk of being trafficked and really do a lot of work into the communities, reaching out especially into our rural areas. Now, this kind of community education is so important, and we know that it leads directly to people getting help. So thank you all for being on it, and I know that that's also what we've seen happen in our area. Next slide, please. Okay, all right, next slide coming up is it's a commercial. This is all of the stuff you can have for free. You can go to our website. You can see past training programs. And I put that at the top, I think, and everybody always asks us on this, but this is being recorded. It is a program that is like many of our others, which are fantastic. Last month, we had Marina Anderson talking about substance use and human trafficking. Go to our website, go under educational materials. You can see old webinars. You can get posters. You can get toolkits. There's lots of good stuff there for you. So all of this is free of charge for you. Of course, if any of you are so moved when you go to our website, you can hit the donate button. But we are always there for everyone in the community. And we've got some of these things hard copies, and you can always feel free to download and use. Next slide, please. One of our newest projects, and really the most exciting, I think, that we've been doing is a podcast. And I know everybody always says what the world needs is another podcast. And it's true in this case. We have had 2 conversations now and 2 different podcasts drop. Both and all will be with survivors talking about what they want us to know. And what I have found in all the conversations is these are compelling, interesting conversations with survivors about what you and I can be doing right now to prevent child and adults from being trafficked, what we can think about, how we can see things different, because I don't know about you all, anybody who's worked in this field has seen massive amounts of misinformation out there. And what we decided at STAC is that we're going to try to set the record straight. So this podcast is our attempt there, and really encourage you to do that. It's very, very compelling, and I think you'll enjoy it. Next slide. The other thing we have is what you're doing right now is STACPRO.org. Know that you all are here. Thank you. And you are here to be doing this program with us. You can do two things at the end. You can tell everybody that you know you attended this great program and you learned about how human trafficking comes to work, or and they can watch it on a video, or they can watch it on their own online. One of the things that you're going to get when you do the registration, STACPRO.org online, you will have access to a bunch of other materials. You'll be able to go back and hear things and maybe think about things or find things that we didn't have time to go into today. There's a host of additional materials and other information. So that's going to keep the door open for you to go back to this website, not to do the training again necessarily, but to get this information. So don't worry about going to STACPRO.org to register now, because we are going to be starting shortly, but know that that's there for you and anybody else who wants to learn more. Next slide, please. Okay, so as you just heard from me, I'm Robin. I'm a lawyer by trade and education. I've worked with STAC now since 2015, where I co-founded it. We have been working in the field in the Big Bend of Florida, which is 6 counties that surround our capital city county, Leon County. And then thanks to you all, I mean, we are hearing from people all over the state of Florida, all over the country, and sometimes we get people from other nations on this. So our reach is wide. Our direct service work is in the Big Bend. And I am always honored and privileged to be working with Graciela Marquina. And Graciela, I'd love to ask you to say a few words, tell us who you are, and we can get going with our training.
Sure. Thank you so much. My name is Graciela Marquina. I am the community service advocate here in STAC. And I work with victims and survivors of sex and labor trafficking.
Great. And as we go through more, we will talk more about kind of what we do, so you'll know more. I know a lot of you are with programs that are on the ground doing what we do, and also collaborating with groups like ours. And so we will talk more about that. Okay, Cassandra, I am ready to share my screen now. And I will do that. And we'll get rolling. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I've got to turn the video on. Okay. I think we are ready to go now. Do you all see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, Graciela. All right. So we are going to start. As you can see, this is, we call it business training. I noted in the intro and during your chatting with us that a lot of you with nonprofits. So understand it's really business and workplace training. The other part about this training that I hope you'll get is that many of the people that you walk with, that you support, that you work and empower, they might be in some of the actual businesses that we talk about. So this is for you as an employee, as a manager, as a supervisor in a workspace. It's for you as an individual who goes into many workplaces, from the grocery store to the bank to the convenience store, gas station. And it's for your clients who go in all those places and are employed in all those places. This is all information that you will be empowered and supported with. So yes.
Robin, a quick thing. What we are seeing is the slide, and also the slide that is coming up.
Oh, okay.
So probably if you go to use slide.
Yes. Let me. Okay. Thank you. So I need to. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Thank you. All right. How is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been doing the wrong.
Yeah.
So you got to see the inner workings of the guts of the presentation. Right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Graciela. Okay. So as you can see, this particular program was funded by the. It's weird. Now I can't seem to advance the slides. Huh. Okay, there we go. So you know who we are. This program was funded by the Leon County and the city of Tallahassee both. It's an interesting process to go through anytime you've ever gotten funding from local governments, but know that our local government said this is super important for all of us to understand and know about. While it's tailored to Leon County, please know that this is absolutely information that you are going to be able to use in your hometowns. Recently, too, for any of you who are lawyers, who are paralegals, we'll be giving you credit information for how you can get credit for this. If any of you are in public lodging establishments like hotels and motels, you might have seen that the legislature just passed a bill responding to the fact that a lot of folks that are mandated in those jobs and lodging establishments haven't taken the training needed. This is also a certified training for that. So if you have any questions about any of that, we'll be putting our emails up and you can be in contact so we make sure you get the credit you deserve. Some other agencies, there you go. Some other agencies also allow this for your professional development credit, just in general. A lot of us have to do training all the time so that we stay up on what we have to do professionally. So there you go. That's the information. You'll have access to additional stuff. Just make a note about STACPRO.org. Don't go do it now because we don't want to miss you for anything, but let's make sure you do that before we conclude. Okay, the first video. Now, this is one of our commissioners talking about why this issue is important.
Hi, my name is Rick Miner, and I'm the Leon County Commissioner for District 3. I'd like to thank you for your interest in this training program. It's important that we all know that human trafficking happens right here in Leon County, not just in the larger cities. And our business community can be the eyes and ears to apprehend human traffickers and to help support survivors of trafficking. Human trafficking, whether it is sex trafficking or labor trafficking, rips at the heart of communities, and it affects everyone, men, women, girls, and boys. Human traffickers target the most vulnerable among us, and we all have a duty to help make our community safe and strong. Being informed about human trafficking is not only the right thing to do for your community, it's also the right thing to do for your business's bottom line. Every organization can do its part, from restaurants and hotels to the financial and retail sectors, to nonprofits and many others. When employees know about this issue and can respond quickly to a possible trafficking situation, they make their workplaces safer for their customers and for their employees. And a safer workplace leads to greater success for your business. The Leon County Commission took the important step of supporting this training opportunity so that all businesses in Leon County can understand and respond to cases of sex trafficking or labor trafficking in our area. And this training is special. Not only is it comprehensive, it is tailored to this area and to the needs and realities that we face here in Leon County every day. A community that is informed and proactively addresses human trafficking is a community that is safer for everyone. Thanks again for doing your part and taking this course.
Okay, and as you can see, sorry. Yeah, this is one of those things where it's tricky with the videos. So thanks for your patience as I work through these things. So as Commissioner Miner said, it's really for everybody. And as you can see on this slide, there are pluses and minuses on this issue. Lots of risks if you ignore human trafficking or it is ignored by your management in the workplace, and many benefits to paying attention. I will give you a story right now at the top. We did a training for all of Leon County emergency medical services, all of our EMTs and paramedics. Within 1 week of doing that training, for the first time, a paramedic was able to, called us from the ambulance and said, I'm with a survivor of trafficking. We're going to the hospital now. We need to get services for this person. And that was because we did a training with them. We gave them information about how to contact STAC. And when they got to the ER, somebody there, they told, we believe this person is a victim of human trafficking, and that social worker in the emergency department also called STAC. Those two people, knowing this information, made a direct impact on how they were able to do their jobs better. And for the first time, according to that survivor, and this is hard to hear, but a reality, that survivor said someone believed them when they said they were trafficked. So your knowledge of this and your ability to share this and become comfortable with this issue in the workplace will make a difference, I promise you. So you can see from this slide, there are issues around, doing this makes your workforce and the public safer. Failing to do that makes it more of a dangerous spot. Your reputation. Locally here, when Commissioner Minor, that you just saw, was doing some research on this issue, said, Robin, help us figure out why we need to do this, where it's impacting. And I just looked up some of the local hotels here on a travel advisory website, and it actually said, don't stay at this hotel because human trafficking is around it. And there had been arrests in that vicinity. That's not the kind of reputation that your workforce or other workforces want. They want to have one that's welcoming and that's safe, and not have their reputation threatened. We know that both on the financial and the legal aspects, that it can result in legal liability, criminal and civil liability. And it also can give you the label of being a good corporate citizen, a healthy workplace. If you are a nonprofit, you clearly want to have a reputation that's opening and encouraging. So there are so many reasons to do this, and many reasons that you are going to suffer if you don't. So what is trafficking? And this is something that we'll go through. I know many of you have been on our Third Friday trainings before, so you've got the basics of trafficking. So we'll go through this maybe a little faster, but just understanding what sex and labor trafficking is, what it looks like, being able to assess if it's present, identifying, and also identifying both victims and survivors and traffickers. When we do this work, oh, sorry, Graciela, this is yours.
That's okay. So we have a couple of terms. One is victim, which we refer as somebody that's still in the situation, the trafficking situation, and survivor, which we refer as somebody that was a victim and now is surviving. Now, reminding you, human trafficking is the exploitation and control of one person by another for profit, power, or commercial gain or benefit, okay? So even though trafficking sounds like this kind of movement, it doesn't require movement or leaving the state or leaving the house, even the house. And human trafficking, we have been already learning from Robin and the commissioner that we refer, human trafficking can be either sex trafficking or labor trafficking.
Great, thank you. And now we're going to hear from Sheriff McNeil here because, none of us do this work in isolation, and we all have partners with whom we work. And Sheriff McNeil is a great ally and a partner with us here.
Hello, I'm Sheriff Walt McNeil. Sex and labor trafficking is here, right here in Leon County. Human trafficking is a crime of many crimes, like violent crimes and non-violent crimes like fraud and money laundering and identity theft. Traffickers are notorious for taking advantage of the most vulnerable in our societies. Traffickers can be anyone. They can pose as business persons. They can pose as just about anybody in our society. And they try to take advantage of those circumstances. We need your help. We need every citizen in our community poised to be engaged in trying to identify, as we say, you see something, say something. We in the Leon County Sheriff's Office, we say it another way. We say we have to be all in. And we're counting on you, the citizens of Leon County, to be all in our fight against sex crimes. Human trafficking takes many, many forms. Oftentimes we think of a trafficker as being somebody that you don't know, that you haven't come in contact with. But human trafficking actually takes place in families. It takes place with respect to businesses that are business people that pose as a legitimate business, but is actually trying to engage in sex trafficking. And one of the things we say about that, we all have to be aware and observe. And again, if you see something out there, if it looks like it's not appropriate, take the opportunity to report it. You never know. You might be successful in reporting sex trafficking in our community. See something, say something is most important in our efforts to drive down human trafficking. So if you see something, be all in and say something.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate what Sheriff McNeil says there so much, because, and why you're here today, and Graciela, I always think of this, but this see something, say something is only as useful as when you see something, your brain actually knows what you're seeing. And that's why trainings, any of the trainings that you attend are so important. They really open your mind so that when you see something again, you will be correct. For example, you know, a lot of people think only young girls or children are sex trafficked. Well, if a young boy or a man is in your work establishment or in your care, if you're a nonprofit, you need to know that that is also very possible that that person could be trafficked. As the sheriff alluded to, you know, traffickers commit many crimes. They are there. Here's an example, you know, forced criminality, you know, shoplifting, kinds of drug crimes. And also they don't comply with other laws and rules that are out there around paying your taxes, protecting your workers, having a workspace that is safe. So there are crimes and violations that traffickers can commit. And it's one of the reasons why sometimes it's hard to count and hard to keep track of all the crimes, because somebody could be arrested for a violent crime like a sexual battery, as well as for money laundering. And you don't know necessarily when you're looking at the stats that that was connected to trafficking. So just be aware that you might not see like what we think of as the legal definition of human trafficking being perpetrated, but in absolute reality, it is trafficking taking place. Some of the particulars of the law for you to be aware of is that for a person to be trafficked, unless they are a child under the age of 18, a minor, you have to have force or fraud or coercion, not all three, one of those things. And what that means is, yes, somebody could be put behind bars or put behind a gated area, but they also might be defrauded or coerced, which is probably more common, where someone is lied to about the job that they're going to get. They're lied to about the conditions of employment. And they also might be coerced. They might be told, if you leave this, if you call the police, if you try to get out of the country again, I'm going to hurt your family. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to, you know, harm whatever it is that's dear to you. So know that that's the case in terms of what the law provides. And again, we're looking at if somebody's a minor, particularly for sex trafficking, a minor can't consent. So you don't need this force or fraud or coercion. So who could be a trafficker? Who could be a victim or a survivor? Let's talk more about who these folks might be and who you might see.
Okay, so the victims, we don't have, and there is no profile to be a victim. There is not, you know, young girls. There is not, it can be really anyone, men, women, you know, any age, any race, ethnicity, citizenship, religion. It really can be anyone. Traffickers are going to target vulnerabilities, and older man with, for example, living with challenges with disabilities can be a person that can be a victim of trafficking. So I'm going to give you some ideas about what things we include in what can you see for a victim. For example, we know that LGBTQI community are you know, vulnerable. They could be one. Actually, I have been very concerned about the idea that the parents are not accepting the kids, and then they kick them out of the house, and that kid, after leave the house and runs away or whatever, is the chances of finding a trafficker are really, really high. Farm workers, domestic violence victims, you see the list in there. Really, a wife can be a victim, and we have had that happening. Kids, parents. Then the next one would be also who are the victims. Can we get the next slide, please? Okay. So what happened is the traffickers, as I was saying, target the vulnerable. So what the traffickers do is groom the victim, isolate them from friends and family. Then there is start getting some threat, of course, about, what is it going to happen if they don't do whatever the trafficker wants, and then ended up being controlling the victim. And that is, that's usually what happens, either a labor trafficking or sex trafficking. We also see that sometimes the victims are disoriented. They don't speak freely. Sometimes they have lack of ID. It look like they haven't eaten. And also, it's possible that the victims develop this unhealthy relationship with the trafficker, trauma bonding or Stockholm syndrome. And so what ended up being is the victim will feel that the victim owes or has some kind of special relationship with the trafficker, but is completely unhealthy and is not helping the victim. Next slide, please. So what are, again, talking about characteristics, the victim, for example, very unlikely will trust the authorities. This is labor and sex trafficking. This is not only immigrants. It's possible that the victim is a runaway teenager that has been, doesn't have the best experience with authorities. So then they will not trust people that might be able to help them. We also have, victims that they try to leave, but they were not believed. And sometimes they don't even know that they are in that situation. If you talk to somebody that is in a grooming period where the trafficker is still not coerced or controlling them, so then probably you will see that this person is being trafficked, but the person might not accept that because it's part of the, I guess, no, this job is going to be really good for me. They promised me this, or, oh, this is, the best boyfriend or a good benefactor person. So this is the time where victims don't see themselves as a victims. Of course, it's going to be a lot of feelings about when they realize what happened, they feel ashamed, they feel trapped because they are trapped. And then there is the other situations where they have to pay money, and so then they are in debt with a trafficker. Another umbrella characteristics is the lack of any free will is very important. For example, one of the things that I do when I am interviewing possible victims is, do you work? Can you come and go in your work? Sometimes they live and work in the same place. But if you ask somebody, can you bring friends to where you are living, and say, no, absolutely not, or they don't take breaks, or they don't eat what they want to eat. That's a lot of signs that something is not right. Next slide, please. And if you see a victim, the person might be hypervigilant or defensive or anxious and confused. If you're in a setting at your job where, the person needs to keep some kind of explanation, it seems like this person had a script. that is already like automatically saying the script. And it's possible that the person is constantly checking on text, that somebody's texting that person or calling and calling. I have the suspicion that I don't have any doubt that sometimes traffickers tell the victims if they go to the hospital, for example, to make sure that the phone is on a speakerphone, for example. So then the traffickers know everything that the victims are doing. Now, in terms of physical health, you sometimes can see the injuries. There's lack of access to medical care. Sometimes they do go, but they don't have the whole, the medications or the post, medical care that they need. And it is possible that they show signs of abuse, as well as in the other slide. I forgot to tell you that their clothes might not be, meeting what it might be winter, and then this person the clothes are not corresponding to that. Next slide, please. So sex or labor trafficking victims, also, we're talking about, a lot of ideas, what can happen. So sometimes they arrive early to the work and stay late. Like I was saying, they don't have breaks. They don't have the meals that they would like to have, or the 3 meals, or whatever. Some labor victims, human trafficking victims, don't have the equipment to protect to whatever they are doing. Like they are doing roofing job and they don't have the thing for the knees and stuff like that. And the lack access of showers and bathrooms, that's another issue. Now, leave at the workplace, take it, you have to, this is not definitely, but it is another sign. Now, on the other hand, in Hispanic, at least here in Tallahassee, I see California too, I don't know. Hispanics usually, if they offer, the immigrants come and they offer, well, you are going to sleep in the back of the restaurant and you work here. But then that person is free to go anytime, that's not trafficking. It might be an exploitation situation, but not trafficking. And then also labor and sex trafficking work with injuries or in pain, or even if they are sick, still they are told to work. Next slide, please. So one thing that we want to make sure is that human trafficking survivors are all different. They like everyone else. Some of them, like I was saying, they might be in the grooming situation, so they still don't see themselves as some abuse has happened. And some of the victims, after they become survivors, can be again in a vulnerable situation. Traffickers will target that and they can be trafficked. Next slide, please. One thing that we want to make sure that you understand and recognize is that the victims are, have amazing survivor skills, have other skills that usually media painting them as helpless and weak. In reality, they had, amazing ability to endure dangerous situations and traumas that they are going over and over again. That every day is another trauma for them possible. So then we want to make sure that you recognize that the victims are not, these weak people. They absolutely have really good strengths, skills, and positive attitudes. So again, now traffickers, as Sheriff McNeil was saying, it really can be anyone. The point here is that, again, there is not a profile. So you can see a business owners, a pimp, labor subcontractor, family members. It can be somebody from the neighborhood. It can be a diplomat. It can be a housewife. So really, the traffickers, we don't have like a profile. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is how we have been talking back and forth with different when we are doing trainings. First of all, what I want you to take from this, from this slide, is that the idea about the snatch and grab is no longer, please, stranger danger. No, what we have seen is that the traffickers want to invest grooming the victim, because the more investment they do, the more they know them, the more the victim are going to stay with them. So traffickers announcement, please go to the podcast. The first podcast is amazing. She's talking about the trafficker, her trafficker was investing in putting nails on her and do the hair and giving her some clothes. And that's for the trafficker was money investing in his business. So I don't have any doubt. And of course, the news tell us that there is a, kidnapping around, but usually trafficking is more grooming, labor and sex trafficking. So I mentioned that the traffickers are going to, groom and then isolate the victims and then ended up being controlling them. So nowadays it's a lot of online. So if you have, kids or people that want to find a job, the traffickers are going to be there telling them, people, I have a great job, come and the interview is, what is your name? What do you do? And then, come and work for me. One thing, Robin, that we had in this, in the conference in Orlando is people from South and Central Florida were talking a lot about labor trafficking with kids in the vans. I saw that before in the past, but it seems like it's coming back in that area. Hopefully we don't have it here. So there's this people that come and tell the kids, we give you scholarships and this crazy, because when they take them to places, they have like a police officer, and that was true. Like, hey, the kids want to take a picture with you, and then the officer is in the pictures, and then they put that in the website. So then it makes it like more respectable, because law enforcement is agreeing with that, but actually all that was a lie. So yeah.
That's interesting too, Graciela, because it just goes to show, again, it's not a snatch and grab thing. It is a gradual, very, very highly manipulative, strategic control. And then those kids see, they're close with the law enforcement, so I can't trust them.
And the parents go to online and they go, oh, these kids look so happy. But if you see the conditions of the van and what they do and what they are giving them, it's just completely, clearly labor trafficking.
And I'll just do a little commercial too for us, that we are going to hear from two experts on the issue of child labor trafficking in our August program. So that's coming, so you can know more about that, because very often we talk about child sex trafficking, which is of course a horrific reality. But it's also important to know that children are also labor trafficked, and sometimes both, right? Sometimes both. So really, really bad.
Right.
So yeah, thanks for that example. I think the examples are really compelling. And any examples you all want to put in the chat for any of this stuff we're talking about, please do. So you can get by now that trafficking is a human rights violation. It is not just a crime. It's a human rights violation. That we've got, numbers are always tricky, but I feel fairly safe that we say over 40 million are trafficked globally, both sex and labor trafficking. And you've heard it before about the at least 150 billion. Again, with such a clandestine under wraps, hidden phenomenon. It's probably more than I don't know. We just don't know, but we know that it's a lot of money, because that's what it's all about. It's about money and power. Trafficking is. And that we have the distinction in Florida of being third in the nation in calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So we're going to talk now about the more specifics into the two forms of trafficking, sex and labor trafficking, that you will see workplaces used for and within. And, you know, this will help you understand more if you're, say, in a hotel. You might see sex trafficking in terms of the facility being used to perpetrate the crime, the rooms, but you also might see at a hotel labor trafficking. But with sex trafficking, know that we're not, people think it's often only, you know, prostitution type offenses, forced prostitution, but it's any kind of commercial sex act that someone is exploited for. So any of these are examples of that. And know that it could be more than one, of course, of these. Some of the things you might see, and Graciela, I always think about when we were doing one of these trainings in person and a survivor was with us, and we talked about the characteristics of survivors. And even when she was being victimized, and we talked about some things, and she said, you know, you have to understand, those things were not me. I was not, you know, quiet. I was very loud. I was really out there. I was really assertive. I often got mad. I got angry. I got agitated. So I'm telling you this as you look at this list now of what some characteristics may be of a sex trafficking victim. Y'all just please know that we list these things. They're not absolute checklists. You might have everything here and someone might not be trafficked. Or you can have one or two of these things and they would be trafficked, because there's all kinds of situations that are far too numerous for us to even know. So here are some things that we do see, some of which Graciela has mentioned. And this last point, that you might see someone who looks, you know, dehydrated, might be emaciated, might be underage, or you might see somebody who is gorgeous, who has, you know, everything done, the best clothes, the best jewelry, because the trafficker can sell them and exploit them for more money, right? So don't think that a trafficking, you know, victim is always going to be one way or another. Don't think and believe what Hollywood shows us about this, because it can be very different. So again, sex trafficking can be any of these places. I got a call from a convenience store one time where someone said, this older man has a younger girl with him. Something is not right. I don't know what it is, but I think he's forcing her. And they came in here to get gas, and they came to, you know, get supplies like food and, you know, drinks and, you know, things like they were going on the road. So, yeah, that could be the case. That older person could be female. It doesn't have to be a male. But any of these things, and then things that you see being purchased in retail, multiple cell phones, burner phones, you know, gosh, it's a story here recently was a massage establishment that was next door to a salon. The massage establishment left. Turns out probably trafficking was going on there, but they mistakenly had delivered to the salon a box, like a appliance-sized box of condoms to a massage establishment, right? You know, that was the reality there. But any of these places are places where you could see someone being trafficked and someone actually trafficking someone. Labor trafficking, again, any kind of control for any kind of labor or service. So we're going to list some of those soon, but know that the majority of labor trafficking around the globe, I mean, the majority of human trafficking around the globe is labor trafficking. Wouldn't be what you think of when you think of arrest statistics, calls into hotlines, the existence of shelter programs and the lot, but understand that labor trafficking is a far more prevalent reality, and that also people are trafficked for both. I was on a webinar listening to a survivor speak about how when she was being sex trafficked in a strip club, that she was also being forced to do the books to help manage the workplace. Now, you might say, that how was she forced to do that? Well, that was something she was forced to do. So the part about that was compelling and interesting to me was she said, number one, people didn't understand that was a victimization of me. That happened to me. So I needed help in healing from that. At the same time, part of my healing was being able to take some of those skills, and I don't know whether it was QuickBooks or whatever it was, so that when they got out of the situation, they were able to, use those skills. As Graciela was saying, it was a strength, it was a strength they had, that they could do that, and that needed to be recognized. Know too that many goods are created with forced labor, and we can ask questions about that, and we could have another webinar, which we probably should, about looking at supply chains. Here are some of the situations where labor trafficking happens all around, and this isn't even everything. Like, I didn't put forestry because, well, we do have forestry in Northwest Florida, but not where we are. But know that, any kind of place where someone can be forced to work is a place where trafficking can happen. Yes, hospitality, we always think of that, but no, too, nurses from the Philippines have been trafficked. So you can have highly skilled jobs. The biggest civil recovery, I think, or one of the biggest in our nation's history, was highly skilled welders from India who were trafficked after Hurricane Katrina to fix the oil rigs in the Gulf off of Louisiana coast. So know that there can be highly skilled people in any industry that can be forced to work. And we're going to talk about clues about how you can detect who might be trafficked, but know that it can really happen almost anywhere. There are parts of labor trafficking that are really important to understand that you will see clues about. Now, you might not be asking direct questions, but you'll see clues that you can see, things like someone who is living on site, somebody who says they never get time off, or says they've been ripped off when it comes to their paycheck. They aren't being paid what they were promised. You might see injury and harassment. One of the survivors that STAC assisted, that Graciela worked directly with, was a man who was working post-hurricane. I'm mentioning hurricanes, like this week, hurricane season starts in Florida. But post-Hurricane Michael, was injured on a job site, was lured to our area post-Michael to do some of the cleanup and repair, had an injury in his leg that became infected. The man could hardly walk. Of course, he wasn't getting medical care because the trafficker not only didn't give him medical care, didn't help him allow people to even wash their clothes, so that the infection got worse and worse. But that guy was working until he could barely walk. So if you see somebody working with an injury that's really bad, that could be something they have no choice. Again, want to make sure you don't stereotype. Think about how you might have seen things in an SVU show or whatever, that there are all kinds of highly skilled jobs that people can be trafficked into, which is surprising to many. So how do you recognize it in a workplace setting? And what are some of these settings? Again, for those of you working in social services, this might be where your clients are, or maybe 5 years ago, right, were exploited. But understanding where it happens and how you stay safe is super, super important. So mentioning hotels, of course. Again, I already talked about inside rooms, not in rooms. And this is a Holiday Inn. I don't know that, this was just a picture that we took. I'm not saying that it happened at this hotel, but it could be a 5-star hotel. It could be a budget motel. It could be a condo. Any of these places, Florida law requires training for that reason on some of the staff there. And know that it could be anybody who's doing work there. And often you can't tell, right, that someone is being labor trafficked because they might be blended in with the staff who is not being trafficked. And because of the threats and the coercion, they're not going to be out there talking about what's going on, So that's why it's important to, be able to pick up on what we think of as like a constellation of various clues. Unfortunately, our law in Florida only requires training of housekeeping and front desk staff at hotels. It really should be everybody. I mean, there's no reason that everyone in a workplace should not receive training. Here are clues that we ask people to look for when they, if they see that there might be something going on. Law enforcement talks about this. Are they paying for cash? And this could be anyway, large amounts of cash, not credit cards, odd requests for the kinds of rooms, again, to stay more hidden and to, and to not be detected. Here are some other clues that we know. You might see, piles or bowls of lube or condoms, other illegal activity, other drugs, people coming and going. You might see this when you're on the road and you're traveling this summer. These are all things where you might be able to detect that something is going on. Again, not an absolute checklist, but know that every workplace has indications of what might be going on. Similarly, restaurants. Food Glorious Food is a great restaurant here in Tallahassee. And actually Susan Turner, who you're about to hear from, is on STAC's board. You'll hear what she has to say, but just one of the reasons why it's so important is that restaurants are the 4th overall in terms of calls to the national hotline, and that you can see sex trafficking taking place maybe in the grooming stage at a hotel. And of course, labor trafficking as well. So let's hear from Susan. Okay, let us figure out what went on there.
A lot of country music there.
Oh no. Oh no, there's Sheriff McNeil. Sorry.
Sex
and labor trafficking is
here,
right here in Leon County.
There's something funky about I'm going to go back here. And now I'm going here. Sorry, everybody.
It's okay.
There we go.
Hello, my name is Susan Turner. I'm co-owner of Food Glorious Food, which I opened in 1982. During my almost 40 years in the hospitality business, I have encountered many challenges, but maybe nothing like human trafficking, which has begun to infiltrate the entire industry. It is vitally important for those working in restaurants and hotels to know how to respond and recognize when they suspect human trafficking is taking place in their business. Restaurants and food service businesses are the 4th top venue initiating calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And the agriculture industry, where our ingredients for preparing and serving food come from, is the 2nd highest. There are countless opportunities to recognize and respond to labor or sex trafficking if we pay attention to where our ingredients come from, the dishes we serve, staff preparing and serving our food, and even customers eating it. We can learn to recognize the sign. All of us, from the largest restaurant chain to the smallest local cafe and newest fun food truck, can be important watchdogs against the 2nd largest criminal money-making scheme worldwide, which is human trafficking. Restaurants have had a difficult time in the past year, but human trafficking is one of the most important issues of our time, and those of us in this business have a special role to play. We encounter people who might be trafficked, and we can make sure anyone we hire is treated fairly. We can take care to guarantee that our goods and services in the supply chain are trafficking-free. Training provides us the information and the tools to know what to do. That is why training like this is so important. Thank you for taking this training, and I encourage everyone in your place of business to do the same. We need to work together to make a difference.
Absolutely. So you can see from, just what Susan said, these are examples of where labor trafficking might appear and how it might appear in restaurants. Another place where we like to emphasize training is with financial institutions, of course, because trafficking is about money, and it's about money and power and moving money and making sure that somebody is exploited for the purpose of making more money. Greed is at the heart, as many people have said. So all sectors of the financial industry must know about this issue as well, of course. When we train with banks, and I'll tell you, we did a training with Capital City Bank, and within like it must have been within 2 weeks of this training, a teller actually went to their supervisors, and because that teller finally recognized and was able to put together the clues of what that client was doing, what that bank client was doing, they were able to connect through, we helped them connect with FDLE, and FDLE had been looking at this particular entity as a money launderer with the clues from the teller who received this training. They were able to put together a money laundering investigation. So again, eyes and ears on the ground are vital. Here are some of the things we tell banks to look for when they're looking at their clients within the banking industry, because any of these things can be implicated and be helpful to prosecuting, arresting and prosecuting someone for trafficking. All of this is from our perspective too. What's vital, if they have the records, they don't have to involve a victim. I think the first case, Graciela, that we were ever involved with, human trafficking, the victims were literally on call for at least a decade as the numerous traffickers who were trafficking them were slowly brought to trial. This can also help when we figure out what's going on in a bank or with banking records, can help us recover for the survivors and help them begin to heal their lives. These are some of the things we talk to banks about, all kinds of clues of how they hide their assets, how they anonymously make and open accounts. And I will tell you, they force victims to open bank accounts, which makes the survivor's credit really go into the tank, and they need help with restoring their credit afterwards. So these are all evidences, as you can see, where you can see inside of a bank that something might be involving trafficking. In the retail sector, we also see this. Again, it might be a trafficker taking someone during that grooming phase, love bombing them with all kinds of things. It might be with fancy restaurants. It could be hotels. It could be any of these things. But note too that retail theft, organized retail crime, is a form of labor trafficking, and it is not unusual for traffickers to force somebody to steal, to be a drug courier, and to be involved with the retail sector. Again, it's called ORC. When we were doing the research for this, it was a new term for me, organized retail crime. All these things, they get people to steal gift cards, and then they use those gift cards to sell other people online. I mean, these are organized criminal enterprises that really boggle the mind. To Graciela's earlier point, door-to-door traveling sales crews that include children, most often, are also a place of this organized retail crime, where they're exploiting children and getting people's identities and etc. In retails, this is what we talk to establishments about, retail establishments about, really kind of weird transactions, burner phones, pregnancy tests, lube, condoms I mentioned earlier, how they pay, how a trafficker will often control all the money, the credit card, everything themselves, because that's what they're doing. They're controlling everything, and the victim is compliant with that. They don't speak up. That's how you can sometimes tell. We also, in our area, because we're state government, have lots of government offices, and don't forget that it can be happening in your workspace. It could be happening with a construction crew who's renovating an office space. It can be in the parking lot. It could be janitors or custodians. One time years ago, I got a call from the Department of Ed. Somebody was working late there, and we were collaborating on a training for adult learners. And he called and he said, "Robin, I think the cleaning crew here at DOE is being trafficked by the way they're acting, what they look like. And so there you go. It could happen in offices and any of these other examples. We talk to people too in office spaces about making sure the private security firms that you hire. It's always curious to me that City Hall here, they have private security, not TPD, at their front doors, but are they trained on how to recognize trafficking? Do you specify in your contracts with your private security people that they be trained? Because again, they need to know what to do and importantly, what not to do, like directly confronting someone in order to keep the workplace safe. So this is something that all of you, if you're a tenant in a building, ask your management, like, is the security here up to snuff on this issue? Do they understand it? Are they keeping our workplace fully safe? So in terms of responding to trafficking in the workplace, we want to go into details and give you some tips there. So one of the things that we want to talk about is really how to respond safely, how to gather information that can help a survivor or help law enforcement to, to arrest a trafficker. And it'll help you understand more what to do and how to get help. So know this, and Graciela, I would invite you to kind of jump in here.
Yeah.
Is understanding that it's really hard sometimes, right? To understand that you're looking at a trafficking situation, right?
Yes. Yes. I wanted to mention something really fast. Are we skipping the video from TCC?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Just in the interest of time. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Sometimes you just have the feeling that something is wrong. I will always say, you might not know all the signs, but approaching the situation is dangerous. So you can always call us. Probably is coming up that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about too how sometimes we get these calls, and like I remember getting a call from TMH, Tallahassee Memorial, and they were saying, our spidey senses went off, that something is not right in this situation. So, you may not know, but one of the things that you can do is, as Graciela says, reaching out for help, talking to somebody, but definitely not ignoring the situation. One of the pieces that we encourage you to do, and this would be a longer program, of course, but does your workplace have a protocol on this? You probably have a protocol on the, other kinds of criminal activity that you might detect or spot or might happen in the workplace. Is trafficking a part of that? If not, it's just a matter of amending that. And again, you can contact us and we can work on that together if you need help. Knowing the signs, being smart about looking at the whole situation, like having a wide angle lens, look at what's going on, and also knowing where your resources are to contact somebody if you need help. The protocols that you have and are really, really important. So you're here today, you're getting trained and educated about this issue, which is really number one. It's that you can't say something if you can't see something, if your brain doesn't know it. So having that is an important part of the protocol. Having your legal staff or counsel or your firm that you retain, make sure that what you do on trafficking comports with and aligns with other internal protocols, how you go up the chain of command in terms of making reports, et cetera. Making sure that management encourages employees to act and not turn a blind eye to it. That's how, I don't know if you've been seeing it, many hotels are now being sued for turning a blind eye to trafficking taking place on their premises. Very often workplaces have a protocol around who calls law enforcement. Will you have someone in your office? Maybe it's you who can be the designated point of contact, the POC for human trafficking. You stay up on things. You're the ones that people call. You're the ones that might call STAC if you're local here. Is this trafficking? What should I do? This is what I'm seeing, kind of thing. One of the things that the county did when they passed that, then they appropriated funds to create this training initially in 2021, is they have now in every one of the contracts that the county does with anybody saying you have to certify that the thing that you're doing, whether it's, providing vending machines or working on a road, that nothing is going to involve human trafficked labor. Making sure your employee assistance programs understand what trafficking is. And we're talking, they need to know because someone might not be recently out of a trafficking situation, but it might have happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But, the trauma of having been trafficked, the triggers, the implications of that can and often are long lasting. Do your lawyers understand it? Is your security team educated as well? Here are 3 important tips for all of us who are employees and just in general for you to know. Again, law enforcement tells us do not directly confront a traffic situation that you suspect. That could be confronting it with the trafficker. Somebody is in your place, and has somebody say with them, you see a power dynamic where that person is taking over all the conversations, is, being dismissive of the other person. They might be charming to you, but be kind of mean and disrespectful to somebody that they're with. Confronting that person, it can be very dangerous for you as well as for the victim. And you might also not really have the situation totally assessed correctly. So what do? Don't confront it directly. Take down details however you can with your phone, surreptitiously if you're taking pictures, and making sure you're assisting management by answering questions and helping figure out what's going on and what your next steps should be. Again, I'm saying it again, don't confront the person there at that time, but here are things that you can pay attention to note: physical descriptions, cars, license tags, anything that can, again, help someone figure this out. That could be someone who's in a parking lot. That's where you might see something suspicious happening. But making sure that you are, putting down the facts, if you will, on what you're seeing in a situation. And you might not be seeing like everything at once. It could be like one day you see this, and then the next day you see something else, another thing with the same people. Like someone might consistently be coming to a workplace, or you might see a worker coming in for like 3 days, and you might see a gradual harm, or that person becoming weaker or looking worse, or other things. You might not see things right on day one, but it might be over time. For us here locally, here are our contact numbers, and everybody has this in your jurisdiction. You have emergency 911, but you also have your non-emergency numbers. Locally, we have a money laundering and organized crime task force. I think FDLE has this all over the state. And there is the FDLE hotline for what you can call them and say, I think this is going on. And the reason I put FDLE here too is that we want you to know that it's common, even though you don't require movement for trafficking. Often trafficking takes place across county lines, across, just in multiple jurisdictions. So it's important to know this, and you have that information handy. Another important resource for you to have is both the National Human Trafficking Hotline website and their hotline. And that hotline 24/7, 7 days a week, multiple languages, and I will be realistic with you and tell you this. I got a call from the VA the other day, and they said, I've been on the hotline. I've been holding on the hotline for an hour. And I hate that. I hate hearing that. But sometimes that's the case. So what do you do then? You can call or text. You can go on it might be just, you're not making a tip to it. You're not looking for immediate help. You just want to chat with somebody to help figure something out. There is an ability to chat online, but you can also call us. So one of the things that you could do is call STAC and say, now we have a warm line. Have you heard that term? warm line. It means not 24/7, but it means definitely after hours and weekends. You know, Graciela, we've all worked different times, right? You want to go ahead? I'm taking this over. You go.
When?
Oh, do you want to do this? The rest of this one, this slide.
Oh, I am already like, yes, of course. That's the Stack phone number. My phone number also, I can put it in the chat. And for anything really, like, I don't know if this is human trafficking, or I have this feeling, or I saw a group of landscaping. I have this, what do you think? You know, and any kind of things. We can talk. And of course, the DCF hotline for vulnerable, for child or vulnerable adult trafficked. So then if you call that line, and then you have, I'm sure that you have protocols in your office where you have to call for abuse. We have this case where we were concerned about vulnerable adult, a woman we called, and when you said I suspect trafficking is the I think is the time of the reaction that DCF has is faster. That's my understanding. So it's for this kind of calls, people go like, oh, well, I don't know if it is or not. Well, that's why you're calling. You're thinking it is trafficking. So yeah.
Absolutely. And then, you know, one of the things you might be doing, and that we would, you know, talk to you about is the things you'll talk about. And again, I don't know if I said this before, but we're available to go to you to do a consultation, to have a specific training like the one we did for Capital City Bank was really focused on just the banks. This is your umbrella training for all workplaces, but we can talk to you about scenarios or talk to you in general, or do a training that is really specific so you know what to do. And you get a sense of, you know, what has just happened? How can I process this? And what we often do too is, like, we're about to do a training at our local Kearney Center, which is for unhoused individuals. And what we do is we say, can you just take the STACPRO online first? So when we go and train with you, we can start processing, what does trafficking look like in your workplace at the Kearney Center with people who are, you know, coming in and out, and the things that are unique to your workspace, and what might you need to do to be safe in terms of your staff, as well as the people you support. All right, so let's hear from Maria.
Hello, my name is Dr. Maria Pouncy. I'm the Administrator for Instructional Services at PAEC, the Panhandle Area Educational Consortium. We serve 14 small and rural school districts, and my role for the last 30 years has also been working closely with children and families of migrant farm workers throughout this region. I have also been a local businesswoman, former owner of Bumpy Road Farms, started by my husband, and now continuing the legacy are my daughter and son-in-law. Many say we have the best heirloom corn grits anywhere. In my work within our farming communities, I know many migrant and immigrant families who are here picking our tomatoes and other field crops, harvesting mushrooms, and raising poultry and cattle. Most families that we work with are from countries throughout North and Central America and small pockets from South America. Did you know that migrant farm workers were some of the most exploited during the pandemic? Calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline track that these essential workers were taken advantage of, exploited, and trafficked at unprecedented levels. We have also seen that there are local businesses in our agricultural and rural areas, like restaurants and laundromats, who also can take advantage of and traffic farm workers and their families. Immigrants in this country are vulnerable to abuse on many fronts. They may not speak English, they may not be familiar with local ways and customs, and they may be deliberately targeted and exploited by nefarious crew bosses and other labor traffickers. Immigrants are both sex and labor trafficked, and I have a great concern for the women who are working in the fields. Reports of sexual harassment are not unusual, and around the country, we know that migrant farm worker women and sometimes children are both sex and labor trafficked. I have been a board member of the Survive and Thrive Advocacy Center for years. I'm proud to be part of this organization and fully support its work in our local Big Bend communities. STAC is here to be a resource. Every business and workplace should know that this local agency can help answer questions, can speak with you about a suspected human trafficking situation, and can help provide services and support to survivors of sex or labor trafficking, or anyone who might be at risk. You should know STAC's phone number and website, surviveandthriveadvocacy.org, as well as the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888. These two anti-trafficking resources can help every business, workplace, and organization to get any information and support you might need to help prevent and stop human trafficking.
Wow,
Yes.
well, Maria
Oh,
just said all my slide. Well, just to, yeah, we are an agency that we connect the services that we have in this area with, with the survivors and sometimes their families too. We do this kind of work like trainings every Friday of the month and also going to different places, as Robin has said. And we recognize that we have to work with sisters organizations that will kind of help us. That's why we put in there, it takes a village. Next slide. So quickly, I wanted to tell you that what survivors need is very, very different. It depends where they their personal situation. Probably they need an attorney for immigration. Probably they need counseling. A lot of life skills coming also. It's very important for immigrants and also citizens of the United States. And for example, we have a couple actually, survivors that needed, a vet for their dog. So then we connect. Robin has a great relationship with this vets that they told us, yeah, we can help with that. So it really can be anything. And remember that the needs of the survivors is not only one time. It's not only like, well, I need this vet or I need this immediately. Okay, well, food and blah, blah, blah. It really is like a lot of needs during years. It really is.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing long-term, short-term situation. And again, businesses in particular, and agencies, you could hire a survivor. You could have someone on your staff who might be trafficked now. And just know too, people are not defined by the worst things that ever happened to them. So one of the things we work really hard to do is to help restore credit. It might be a stolen identity that happened. It might be that we need help and establish connections with landlords and other places for housing and employment as well. So again, there are many things that, that can happen. So, and, in conclusion, we want to just, emphasize with this that taking action is always important. It might be finding out more information. It might be calling 911. It might be somewhere in between. So, and then chat, it'd be great now. And I have a hard time seeing the chat when I'm doing the PowerPoint, as you probably saw when we started. But if you could just take a moment, and we've got about 10 minutes left now, in the chat, and there may be questions. We'll get to those as well, and reflections. But think about, have you ever witnessed a trafficking situation in your workplace? And through this training, have you any ideas? Like we always say, what's your takeaway? Do you have a takeaway on this? Like, what would you like to check on or go back to and see how you could in your workplace be supportive of the people you assist, that you work with, as well as the public and your own colleagues and staff. So if you could put some of that in the chat, it would be great. Just, let us know if you've seen anything and if you have any takeaways from today. And as you're doing that, we'll just wrap up and just say, we hope that now you're better able to recognize the signs of sex and labor trafficking, including what a person might look like who is a trafficker or is being trafficked, that you'll know how to respond and react if you suspect a trafficking situation, that you might have a sense of some resources and know directly, especially the hotline, as well as, the hotline can help you find, by the way, I gave you all of, the slide I did had all the local numbers, but you can call the hotline and say, where are my local anti-trafficking resources? Where's the closest agency like STAC to me? And they will give you that information. And you can also find that out by going on the hotline's website. For those of you who are lawyers, write this down, please, so you know, or paralegals, 2 hours of credit. They're like 50-minute hour credit, so that's why it gets to be 2 hours for you, which is great. This is your number, the reference number and title for the CLE information for you. So know that this is what you need in terms of that. Special thank you to all of the people who helped us put together this training program, who did the videos and who were our project advisors. And here is the contact information for myself and for Graciela. So we can also put that into the chat. And for your answers, for some of the questions and answers, I would love to go into that now. We've got about 6 minutes. And Graciela, I think we're getting some comments in, so I'm going to stop sharing, and we can.
Actually, somebody wants to get the STACPRO for the CUs, I think.
Okay, for the CLE program.
Yes.
You want to get that? Okay, I'm gonna get that.
CLE, yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So what I'm gonna do is stop the presentation, and I'll put that into the chat.
And there is somebody asking if we're going to send the help copy the slides to send by email. I wasn't sure what is our plan, because they can go directly to our website. It's right there.
So here's the number for the let me do this now. We'll do the CLE information right now. It's 2 hours. And here's the course number and the title. And I didn't say this before, but thank you. Shout out to Legal Services of North Florida. Thanks to them, we were able to get the CLE. So thank you, Legal Services of North Florida. But there's that information for 2 free hours of credit. I will tell you that what I would encourage you to do in terms of this information, anything that we went through on this PowerPoint is in the CLE. So go to STACPRO.org. We will be posting this video on the website as well. In terms of this, what you have to do is, after you register, in terms of getting the certificate, is you have to go ahead and put your information in there. And then from our end, we'll be sending you the information. We'll send you an email that says, thank you and congratulations for completing. And this is where you click to get your certificate. So go to STACPRO.org now, walk through the process to enroll. And if you have a problem with anything, we have a technical advisor who will help make sure you get it. And I'm putting my email, it's robin@surviveandthriveadvocacy.org. Contact me if you have any technical glitches on anything in getting your certificate. If you're from DBPR, we're on their website, we're certified. This is a training you are now. You can check it off your list that you are now DBPR certified as well. Any other questions? By the way, I saw somebody here from the travel industry. Glad you're on. Oh my gosh. Would love to talk to you more about that. Thank you so much for that.
There's one question.
Yeah.
Somebody, Alejandra Toledo, said, I pre-registered. I do not need to do it again, correct?
No, if you pre-registered on this, you registered only for the Zoom.
Okay.
So what you have to be sure you do is you go onto the STACPRO register, and I'm sorry you have to register twice, but it doesn't matter that you registered on Zoom for this. Thank you. We love you for doing that. But we want you to also get your certificate. What we also do is we send you an emblem, like your workplace will be STACPRO. You'll be a STACPRO business. So you'll get an emblem. You can put that on your signature, wherever you want to on your website. And if a large number of you from a business get trained, you are a STACPRO certified business. I can talk to you about that. And you get another emblem. So you get recognition, and we brag on you. We put you on the STACPRO website. If you go to the bottom of that, you'll see a rotation on some of the entities that are there. Yes, and it might take now, and I want to tell you, when you do the STACPRO.org and you log in, don't start the course, right? Because you've just taken the course. But make sure all of your information gets in there and you're at
Okay,
chapter 1.
there's some confusion here because a couple of people say that they register on STACPRO, but when they try to log in, it tells them that the account doesn't exist.
Okay, Kinsey, do this for me. Anybody who's having that trouble, would you please look at my email up there and send me a note, and let's get Michael to get in touch with you to make sure that you can register. Okay, and I will make sure that that happens and we address any technical glitches. Here's my email again. If you're having trouble with that, we'll get Michael on it. So yeah, you have to make sure, Stephanie's saying didn't create a username. Hi, Nancy, pre-registered, but don't know where to do the follow-up. Just do STACPRO.org, and that's all you have to do. There's no follow-up. If you got to the place where it says start the course, you are pre-registered. We will get you, check you off for having been in with us today, and you'll get your certificate, and the Wakulla News will get credit, Nancy. Thumbs up for you being here. Great. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Do we have anything else that you would like to know about with this? We're so grateful you were here. And okay, Amy, and able to log in. Okay, Amy, you still need to be in touch with me. That would be great, because I'd love to make sure you get credit and you get your certificate.
One thing that I would like to say at the end, for the end, is that think about situations that you think you saw or saw somebody that you think, now that you know more stuff, where they trafficked, this person were experiencing human trafficking, and what would you do now with what you know? There's always this thing that, oh yeah, I remember I was, and I saw this, and probably that was trafficking. What will you do now? So that's your homework.
Great. Yes, yes, yes. And I want to thank everybody. I'm scrolling through the chat now really briefly. The Girl Before by Rena Olson is a fantastic resource. Somebody mentions, I went to Ulta and noticed older man buying young lady expensive makeup, but didn't want to have anybody assist her. Eileen, thank you very much. That sounds like a red flag. We had a young woman in mental health who stated she was trafficked, but police didn't believe her because she was smiling. Oh my gosh. Of course, Michelle, oh dear, yeah. No, just know everybody in the community is not as educated, even as you are now. A C6 16-year-old was being trafficked for a place to live, right? It's not only just for money, it's an exchange of anything of value. Appreciated learning that trafficking includes more than just sex. Thank you, Shanine. Absolutely. And oh, Ronnie, thank you. Thank you for disclosing and sharing and highlighting the issue of familial trafficking and parental Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. We're honored you're with us today. And I see that many of you have said things, and I think we need to wrap up. You all did great. Anybody who's having trouble, again, you have my email. Email me right away and I will say thank you. We're 2 minutes over. Next month, we're going to have a program on how to have a survivor-centered, focused program. And so tune in again, third Friday of next month, and we will see you then. Cassandra and Lisa, thank you so much. And just-in-time training, thank you once more for being our technical support and advisors. We love you, and we're so grateful to you. You're terrific. And thanks to all of you, all 125 you started out with us. We appreciate you. And have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Friday. Graciela.
Happy Friday.
Mwah.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Robin.
Take care. All right.